All right, hello and welcome everyone to the Gospel of Comics. I am your host, the Church of Failure, and with me, as always, trusty co-host Ayrton McCartney. How you doing today, man?
I am exhausted. I spent most of my day helping my dad do roofing on his house.
Oh, that seems good in the middle of summer. Before we
Right.
get into it, we actually have two very special guests with us tonight. 2 or 3 weeks in the making here. Please welcome Mr. Q DeRugi and Mr. Soterson from Out of the Darkness. How you doing, guys?
Also
We're
tired.
doing great. Good to be on here with you and Atron.
Atron. Oh man, that's Ayrton's new name for anyone unfamiliar. He is now Atron.
So does that mean I can get one of those Sandy Beige number 42 cards?
Oh man, you're definitely one is on the way.
Awesome.
One is in the mail.
You wanna give everybody in the audience who might not know who you guys are, or anybody that might be watching in the future, kind of an idea of what you guys talk about over on your channel. The link in the description down below, by the way, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We are Out of the Darkness, and we kind of just talk about a lot of different things. Just mainstream things going on. We talk about everything from stupid things the government does to talking about current events. But uh, some of the things you'll probably agree with, some of the things you might not agree with, but we really are just a promoter of free speech, just people coming on and having discussions. Not everybody we have on agrees with what we have to say, but that's okay. That's okay. That's what being a human being is about. It's about learning from each other. So that's what we seek to do. So seems like for the most part, church, we agree on most things, but
I'm sure
we'll,
there's
we'll,
some we
we'll,
won't.
we'll find we're getting no one agrees on everything as it pertains to comics, so
Oh, not
we'll
at all.
find some things tonight that we disagree with, but I'll still like you at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure.
Right, as long as I'm not a fan of a certain football team that we discussed off air.
Well, and as long as you're not a fan of this new Catwoman series,
Oh
or
no,
not Catwoman,
Batwoman.
Batwoman series, we'll be all right.
Oh,
I mean, I'll have to see it before I pass judgment on it, but it doesn't seem like it's shaping up too good now.
I saw the trailer, and that's about as much time as they're gonna get away from me. I'm telling you right now.
Well,
That,
they
that,
had
that,
a Swamp Thing show coming out that they canceled before it even hit post production. Cut it down to 10 episodes, canceled the season 2. I was like, what the hell? It's the only thing I wanted to watch that you were making.
well, we'll see what they do, but it'll be interesting anyway. So,
Well,
yeah.
we have a topic of discussion that you and I have been kind of going back and forth about for a couple of weeks now, and that is the race shifting of legacy characters. So when you take Steve Rogers, Captain America, and you give the shield to Steve Wilson, for example, Sam Wilson, my bad, Sam Wilson, for example, and there are plenty of other instances in there. Like we talked about Monica Rambeau, the black female Captain Marvel. We talked about Jaime Reyes being the Blue Beetle, young Hispanic boy picking up the mantle from Ted Cord. So there's a lot of examples, but I think Sam's going to be the one we focus on for the majority of the evening. So if you if you want to go ahead and give a few thoughts on how you feel about this, why you wanted to bring this character specifically out of the darkness, so to speak.
Well, I mean, so I think that having these discussions is important, especially with the current um, landscape in our country. I mean, everybody wants to insert race into everything, which you know what? Look, we're a very diverse country, so obviously that's going to happen. But where I have an issue is when people start trying um, to push superiority as opposed to pushing equality, right?
Right.
Um, and I feel like with comics have they were far ahead of the times with giving people, especially people of color, a voice, right? Giving
Right.
people an opportunity. I mean, and how much more positive was it to give people color. I mean, to make them superheroes. I mean,
Right.
and to put and so many, unfortunately, so many of the in mainstream America, so many of the people that young children of color look up to are not very positive at all.
Right.
But to see that back when in America's dark days, as a lot of people would say, which I don't necessarily agree with, that they were already doing this. I mean, that's pretty fantastic. I have a lot of friends of mine who, said, oh man, Black Panther was fantastic, because it was great to finally see them, put a black superhero out there. And I'm like, that was done long, long before Black Panther,
Right.
Um, but unfortunately that it wasn't really talked about because that wouldn't fit the narrative. So, but yeah, so yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I guess the argument for a lot of people was, should Steve Rogers have passed on the mantle, or should he have been given an entirely new identity?
Well, I
And
think.
I guess,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Oh, I think I've even made the joke to you before, but I made it for a few years after this happened, and recently, it's kind of come around that maybe that wasn't so much of a joke, but the way they should have handled this. But I've always said that they just kind of missed an opportunity, like letting him keep the wings and calling him the American Eagle.
That could have been cool. I mean, that could have been cool. But I mean, but the idea, I mean, Captain America stood for something great. I mean, America,
Right. He was the
and
embodiment of what the World War II soldiers wanted to be, what everybody coming out of World War One wanted to be, even the strongest, the fastest, the best there was, the most loyal. I've got a kind of a motto that Ayrton and I kind of agreed on when we first met during the show. Um, I think that comic books are kind of America's mythology, if that makes sense. You know how the Greeks and the Roman had their pantheon of gods. Well, we don't have that. We've got plenty of religion to go around, but Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, the X-Men, the Avengers, they all represent a certain diverse group of Americans and how those
sure,
Americans would like to be portrayed. Not necessarily how they are, but what they can uh, strain to achieve, I guess.
sure.
So
And we can all kind of see ourselves in one of those, or one or maybe a few of those characters. We can always kind of put ourselves in that light. I mean, it's with all of the stains on American history. I do like the idea that they passed on the mantle of Captain America. Like, there's got to be a Captain America. There has to be the as far as I'm concerned, could there be any more? If the if there's a pantheon of gods and comics are our version of that, then Captain America's got to be Zeus, right?
well, I mean, he's up there. I think
Well,
Superman. I
no, because
think
he doesn't
Superman.
fuck everything that moves.
What?
he he doesn't
What was
nail
that?
everything with the pulse.
Well, I've always been more a fan of Norse mythology. I mean, just because they were a lot more moral.
It's a lot weirder. Too.
What?
It's weirder, but they're a lot more moral than Greek. I mean, yeah, than Greek deities. I mean,
Well,
so
the Greeks invented gay people, didn't they?
Oh, do we have to
this is
disavow
y'all
Eric?
show, so I don't know how far we can go down this road.
Just
I
let it
don't know
ride,
if
man.
moral is the right word you're looking for.
They were
The closest-
they were more moral. I didn't call them moral. I just said they were more moral. They were less immoral than the Greeks.
Well, the Greeks thought that stuff was okay, though, by and large. But I think what you're looking more for is closer to Judeo-Christian morality.
Well, I mean, those guys went around killing everybody for a while, so we can't really look at them as the pinnacle of morality.
I would say maybe the word maybe the word you're looking for is more noble.
Okay.
I'd say that's down the same vein, though.
I think
like-
we understand the idea you're going for, though. I think we're just splitting hairs
all
here.
Yeah,
Probably.
I think you guys are just teaming up against because I'm black and I'm talking about morals. Is what it is.
Why do they have to always do that to us, Q? Why do they have to do that to us?
I'm gonna yank out the African American Express, as we call it. So, AKA the black card. All right, so shut it down. So,
From my perspective, both of you are green and white. So
we're all equal on the stream here, fellas.
We're all equal on the stream. So, okay, fair enough. But as far as I'm concerned, I feel like okay, if Captain America is considered to be the in my mind, okay, the superhero of all American superheroes,
right?
Then I think it's an honor for that mantle to be passed on, and especially for him to be able to keep even be able to keep the shield, right? I mean, I think that there's a huge amount of symbolism that goes with that. So that's just my thought. The idea that it should have gone to Bucky, I mean, Bucky had a pretty
storied history, if you will.
Yeah. But I mean, to be in all fairness, he was the sacrificial lamb. I mean, he didn't, for all intents and purposes. I mean, the Falcon was supposed to be dead, and we all thought he was going to die. I mean, he sacrificed himself for humanity. How much more Captain American-ish can you be than that?
I absolutely agree. I think that the problem started to come when the writing staff at Marvel kind of used the fact that Sam Wilson happened to be black as well as being Captain America. Because one thing that I can't see Captain America doing is playing any race card. Now, obviously, it's easy to say that when you're thinking of Steve Rogers because white people don't get to play those. But I can't see Sam Wilson doing it either as Captain America. That's not how he would win the debate.
They played it pretty good for about 200 years. I mean, that was the ultimate race card. But anyway,
I don't think that was the race card. I think that was the NRA membership card that you're thinking about.
Hey, as an Irishman, I take offense to that.
Yeah, see, we didn't give the Irish the NRA membership cards.
Right. But y'all had potatoes, and without potatoes, there'd be no McDonald's French fries. So it was just kind of effed up too to think about it. Think about it that way. I mean, y'all dang near invented the potato, and then they should have been Irish fries. They really should have been.
We'll see but
potatoes came from the New World.
Oh no, I don't know any.
They came from the Americas.
See, the
Irish
God
Irish took them.
God invented the process of fermentation, so the Irish couldn't take over the world. Because it said that the Irish had saved Western society, but then had a few pints of Guinness and forgot where we left it.
We have Mrs. Church in the chat and Donka in the chat, and Donka made the comment that they made Iceman gay and then killed the character. So that's something we could touch on once we get past Captain America, if you're interested in, because they definitely did that. Bobby Drake was a heterosexual character that they very much made gay and then killed him off.
Oh,
yeah.
Why did they kill him off? What's
because
the
he didn't because he didn't sell. It's comic
sounds
books.
Very homophobic.
Right? It's not very inclusive. But no,
Well, maybe if they made him gay, he might have sold. Just saying.
maybe. But then they would have
I
never
don't
had a
know.
reason to start shipping him again. But to kind of wrap it all back around to Sam Wilson, like we were saying, I think the writing staff at Marvel really took something that could have been really good, unifying and uplifting, and they turned it into an agenda, like a propaganda machine for the leftist agenda. And that's kind of the main problem that a lot of people have been having with Marvel comics. Even when you look at the Miss Marvel, the Muslim uh, Inhuman that took over Carol Danvers' old identity. Um, then you have obviously Captain Marvel, which is a female rendition of a character that was a male alien, and they changed it into a blonde, blue-eyed, white female, and Disney shipped that as just the most diverse thing ever. It was the best.
And
Yeah.
he was he was an illegal alien, but he was just visiting.
Right,
So.
right, just like in
Well,
Trump's Space Force.
he had an argument that Superman was an illegal alien on this show, on my show a couple weeks ago. So, which I think is blasphemy. But of course, that's different.
Well, how can you tell him no though?
Exactly. Who's gonna go? Who's gonna go turn him into
Like,
ice?
what are they going until the general populace found out about kryptonite? What could they do about it?
Yeah, it's true.
But Superman's got that Hancock nobility where if they were like, you have to go to jail now, he'd just go sit quietly in the cell. I know I could break out, but I'm too much of a Boy Scout to do that.
Yeah, I got to follow the law. So I suppose I could
One
go with.
one thing you may be interested in, Q. In the '90s, Marvel and DC did a team up they called the Amalgam Universe, and essentially parallel characters from each universe merged with one another. So you had a merging of Captain America and Superman that they called, get this, Super Soldier.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So that was
What was it called?
huh.
What was it called again? What was the title?
The Super Soldier by Amalgam Comics. I'll send you a link after the show.
Okay.
But this is what I talk. This is why I do this show, by the way, because I take people that aren't necessarily comic fans, and I find things that interest them, and I can introduce you to a wealth of comic books that cover that particular title, that particular topic, I should say.
Nice.
But
No, that's fantastic. I just feel that if there wasn't such an agenda to piss people off and get people upset and to get a rise out of people for whatever reason that people do that, I think that these types of things should be promoted. I mean, I feel that um, especially when we were growing up, I mean, comics were a huge source of entertainment. I mean, they still are for the most part, but I mean, we didn't have all of the media sources that we have today, and to see this type of inclusion, across the board in the comic world. I mean, I feel like that was it was before its time, really and truly. But rather than focusing on what we did right as a society and glorifying that, I mean, we choose to. And I'll be honest, like I'm pretty frustrated with what Disney has done by doing away with a lot of the diversity that already existed. All they had to do was run with it, you know.
Right.
what do you mean by example there?
Well, I mean, just talking about the Captain America type, Captain America. I'm sorry, Captain Marvel, situation there.
Right.
Who was there was the black female?
Monica Rambeau. Yeah.
There you go. I mean, how empowering is that? Um, that's fantastic. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, maybe she'll come out as I don't know. She'll probably come out as an Asian male.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, let's look at the ancient one in Doctor Strange. It was supposed to be a Tibetan man, and it ended up being Tilda Swinton.
It was supposed to be Celtic,
No, no, no. It was
right?
supposed
But the bald.
yeah, it was supposed
That was Cumberbatch, right?
no, no. I'm talking about the ancient one, the mentor that taught him how to use his powers. Was supposed to be
Oh,
Tibetan.
right.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a Tibetan
Right.
man, and it was instead a white woman. Well,
That was weird.
I think
That
Tilda
was
Swinton's
really
white.
Well, it's
At
because
least she wasn't blonde
Chinese people aren't fans of the Tibetans, so it wouldn't have played well in the overseas market.
And that's the thing. Like they're worried about everyone else's racial bias that they just kind of throw it away on the home turf. It's bad.
That's an unfortunate loss as far as
Well, one thing that
because there's a lot of kids that could. I mean, I looked. I mean, I don't know about you, but who did you look up to as a superhero when you were a kid? Church.
I was a Spider-Man Green Lantern guy.
Green Lantern, really?
Yeah, man. Any kind of character that just did the right thing and then got shit on for doing it, I really identified with that.
Really?
Yeah.
Soder, who was your
I
superhero?
really wasn't a comic guy growing up. Trying to think of the cartoons I would have watched.
We'll
Would have
fix
been
that.
Spider-Man. Static Shock I thought was a very fun show.
Yeah.
Which who was African American, by the way.
Well, I mean,
That
it's
was
kind
a
of
fun show. I
the-
remember that.
the black guy with electricity powers is kind of a racist trope in the comic book community. It is kind of a dark. It's kind of a
Oh,
dark.
really? Oh,
Yeah,
shoot.
it's kind of a dark stain on comics if you ask a lot of people. Because if you think
Oh,
about
man.
it, all the
Am I a
black guys.
racist?
Well,
We are
Probably.
I mean, are you white?
Yeah, I am. Shoot. You got me.
Your
But-
privilege is showing.
But yeah, they had kind of a streak where if there was a new African American character introduced, 9 times out of 10 they were going to have electric powers. So
And so, Atron, who was yours?
For me, it was Wolverine.
All right. I can see that.
Just we moved a lot when I was a kid, so that kind of like the loner who doesn't really have a place entirely where he belongs and stuff like that. I really identified with that, and he's a fun character, especially when he shit talks people when he's kicking the crap out of them.
Heck yeah.
now what?
Yeah.
Now why did Green Lantern surprise you so much when I brought that up?
And because, in all fairness, like they did Green Lantern dirty. I mean,
Yeah.
the actual movie
We don't talk about that.
that was
That doesn't exist.
See,
in our timeline.
if you saw Deadpool 2, you saw that Ryan Reynolds went back and fixed it.
right. Wasn't the original Aquaman black too?
No, Black Manta, his villain was.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was he the villain in the movie too? Or is that a different character? I'm sorry.
I haven't seen the movie all the way
He was
through.
But I could have
he
sworn
was the villain in the movie.
black.
I don't think Arthur Curry's ever been black, but there is a secondary Aquaman type character in DC that is a black person.
Okay.
Which
Which is completely.
I think it's Aqualad
realistic, 'cause black
actually.
people as a whole can't swim. So, I mean, that's just crazy.
I think Aqualad is black. They changed his name though. Yeah. Aqualad is an African American character with white hair. So we'll bring up an image
So
of the old.
Morgan Freeman could play.
So,
it.
so it's basically Kanye West.
There you go. There you go. Dragon energy. That's what gave him his powers. Well,
Fantastic. So okay, so because growing up, mine was Batman. I mean, it just the idea that just being brilliant and having massive amounts of money could make you a superhero. I thought that was just the coolest thing. So,
right.
and there's been arguments about, well, he didn't have any superpowers per se, but I mean, I'd argue that his superpowers were his massive amounts of intelligence. So, which was something I could identify with. Not because I was that sounded terrible.
Oh my goodness.
No, but that was the only superpower I
Well,
was.
you see good, sir. I identified with his massive intelligence.
I identify as massively intelligent, therefore I can pilot this aircraft. Get out of my way, officer. Can you guys see the screen share I've got up, or I don't know if you're on the stream or if you're just on.
I'm not on the stream right now. Okay.
Okay, I'll.
What is this?
I'll. That's Aqualad. I'll
Is
do
this Static Shock?
Don't be racist. Here,
Okay, is this Q?
That
No,
is
it's
cute.
Black Panther.
That's Aqualad.
That's Aquaman.
That's Aqualad.
Aqualad.
Yeah, that was the
wait. Lad being a synonym for boy, so are they literally calling him Aqua Boy?
yes.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Oh boy. Now see here, boy.
His notable aliases are Jackson Hyde, Waterboy, and Calder.
Oh, Water Boy. That'd be all right. with it.
Elder, is that what is he from Krypton or something?
I'm not really familiar with his
He's
background,
from
but
I would assume he's
Bad
Atlantean.
Krypton neighborhood.
he's actually the son of Black Manta, the bad guy for Aquaman. So Aquaman not only
Did
has
that guy die?
well, not only does
Or no, sorry.
not only does Aquaman have a black nemesis, but he also apparently beat him up and took his kid to raise him.
Oh wow.
Well,
Q, you have some things about that.
the kid might have some manners.
I was thinking
I mean,
the
you don't
adoption
want him raised by a
conversation
single
we
mother.
had the other day.
Well, someone assumed that I was adopted because I was fairly conservative. So they said you must have been adopted by white people.
Oh, it wasn't that, not that adoption conversation.
Conversation.
The one about black people adopting white kids.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We've had some Yeah, different time, different day.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to pick off any of his viewers. So we'll be fine.
Don't worry, we do that enough as it is.
Yeah.
But no, just to like I say, get kind of back into the Sam Wilson, Monica Rambeau.
So when did Aqualad come out then?
Well, this particular character is he was created in what was it? I believe it was 2010. Let me make sure. Yeah, first appearance was in the Brightest Day series in August 2010.
Okay, so I'm losing my mind. So in the original Justice League,
Mm-hmm.
there was a black guy, black character. I know there was. What am I missing, y'all?
Are you talking about the cartoon where you had Jon Stewart as Green Lantern?
Is that what was it Green Lantern?
There was a Green
the
Lantern
cartoon
in the
series.
cartoon series, and then Jon Stewart made his way to the comic books. Yeah, yeah, the guy from the Daily Show.
I'm talking about the original, the cartoon, the Justice League cartoon.
Was it the Justice League or the Super Friends?
Yeah, you're talking Super Friends?
I'm thinking Justice League, man. This is from when I was a kid, so it's been 30 some odd years since I've seen it, but thought it was Justice League.
Don't worry, I can. With the power of the internet, we can figure this out. Yeah, John Stewart.
Now let's use our massive intellects to figure it out.
That's right, Q. I'm gonna need your help here.
You guys are fantastic.
Well, see. Don't go saying that now. You don't want to get deplatformed.
Right.
Q has no affiliation with the Gospel of Comics. He's actually here at gunpoint.
Yeah. They told me they were going to make
Wait, are you thinking of the Cyborg?
No. Right, Cyborg. No, Cyborg? You're not thinking of him? Because he is one of the African-American characters from the Justice League.
I think I would... Yeah.
But yeah, here's
okay,
let me pull this up on screen. You can keep talking.
Yeah. It was tough for me to go. Yeah, it was a Green Lantern. You're right.
I got you right here, bud. Super Friends. Yep, there we go.
My next guess was going to be Batman.
Swamp Thing.
The costume was black.
No, Swamp Thing kind of always been white.
Yeah, it was Green Lantern. That was the black one, Green Lantern.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, you guys pulled up your screen sharing the exact same picture I was looking at. So yeah. So I mean, I feel like the comic world has done a fantastic job of including all. Unfortunately, in today's age of analytics, I feel like they've done
in
terrible job.
In today's age, if it ain't white, if it ain't white, or if it is white, it's definitely not right. That's the saying, I believe. Because they even took the Flash, Wally West, Kid Flash. Wally West was Barry Allen's protege, and he was a white, freckled, redheaded kid. And when they rebooted the series for no reason whatsoever, they took a character that had been beloved for 18 years, and they were like, he's black now for no reason whatsoever, no explanation.
Well, if you want to talk about a race of people that have been absolutely crapped on, it's got to be the gingers. It's got to be.
Yes, absolutely. Even white people hate them.
Like I said, Irish people.
And Scots.
Well, I mean, technically, that's not really fair. I'm Irish, so you can't really say that. I'm Black Irish.
So you have two strikes.
You're Blyrish.
Right. They just wouldn't have let you off the boat at the harbor.
They let us off. It's the right bidder. they sent us COD.
That's right. That's right. We ain't paying for it. But no.
Sorry, this is gonna.
Well, you're fine.
That's why they don't let me go anywhere.
That's fine, man. I enjoy it. I would have invited you on if I wasn't prepared for this. But
I mean,
hey, you remember how we were telling you weren't roboting earlier through Hangouts, Ayrton? I lied.
You said, how you tell me what?
I told Ayrton that he wasn't roboting through Hangouts. Go ahead. You're still roboting a little bit. It'll clear up. But what I was going to get into is because you remembered Green Lantern. That's one of the examples that I was talking about where they took a character that's a legacy title, but because the Green Lantern is a core, an outfit of multiple people anyway, there's no issue with putting a ring on someone of any race, gender, creed, ethnicity, anything. And they can still be a Green Lantern. Now, are you going to have a hard time with people that are Hal Jordan or John Stewart or Guy Gardner fans? Sure. But that doesn't mean that they can't still be Green Lanterns. Now, one thing that came up with Sam Wilson is the fact that after a few years, Steve Rogers came back. And instead of there being a Captain America and a Falcon again, or instead of there being, a Captain America East Coast, Captain America West Coast kind of thing, they just had two Captain Americas in the Avengers, and and a lot of people were kind of up in arms about that. Now, personally, my problem with it was is if you're going to make the stance that Sam Wilson is going to be Captain America now, then stick with it. When Steve Rogers comes back, have him be nomad, have him be a man without a country, have him, especially because what they did with Civil War II when they made Captain America essentially a Nazi, that was offensive.
They should have made Steve Rogers the original Captain Planet.
I think they should have made Steve. I think they should have made Sam Wilson the Nazi Captain America. That would have thrown some people for a loop.
Hail Hydra, brother.
Oh man.
Sig Soter.
Sig Heil with a power fist,
Right.
But that was kind of one of the things that really set people off. I don't think it was even the fact that there were two Captain Americas in hindsight. I think it was the fact that they brought a Captain America back, and then they put Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson at odds by making the white Captain America a literal Nazi.
So, and in all fairness, like they never gave Sam the serum, right?
The what? The serum? No, I don't think so. I think he had a derivative of it in the 70s, but it was never really. He was just a great soldier.
Well, they didn't,
and he had wings.
Black don't crack, so they didn't really need it.
That's right. He was already better. All that selective breeding.
Are you saying that he was already a master race?
Why not see a master race? But essentially, what we saw when the serum was drained from
Steve,
that he essentially aged like to
rapidly.
His original age, like rapidly aged. So like he's this old, decrepit man by the time this is done. So, but because black people don't age anyway.
That is correct. That is scientific fact.
I mean, look at Morgan Freeman. He's been 68 for 75 years.
Right. I mean, heck, Samuel L. Jackson is still an Avenger, and he's like 80. So,
right.
He doesn't look any different back in Pulp Fiction.
You know that the Avengers was not Samuel L. Jackson's first forte into a superhero movie, right?
I did not know that.
Samuel L. Jackson was, and at one point in the movie, he was actually in an SS outfit.
What?
Yeah, I'll find an image
How
of that.
How did he live that one down?
Nobody watched the movie because it was shit, except me.
Wow, so you're telling me that he did a movie that was worse than Snakes on a Plane at one time?
Yes, and Snakes on a Plane was a masterpiece. You shut your mouth.
I've never seen it. I can't tell if he's joking or serious.
I'm tired of these monkey fighting planes on these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane. Come on.
Okay. I was like, golly, he sure is calling us monkeys a lot, Soter.
No, I was calling
got
Soter.
It. We're good.
I was calling Soter and Ayrton. Atron.
Atron?
That's right.
It's not Aryan.
It's not Aryan. No.
He's never going to live that down. But yeah, I'll pull this up on screen for the good people at home.
Yeah. No, I feel like I'm getting somewhat of a history lesson here. I did not realize that he had sunk his teeth into
being a literal Nazi.
The well,
film Django Unchained. The house.
Yeah, the house
guy.
slave.
Yeah.
The house slave.
Holy smoke! There he is, as he lives and breathes.
Wow.
A black Nazi.
I'm surprised more people
That's
don't know
A
about
block.
this.
I'm surprised too. He must have paid a lot of money to get those things kind of under the radar. Holy smokes, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is why this is the reason why people's never mind. I'm not gonna go there.
Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
gonna leave that alone.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say this. Like this is the reason why they think Trump's a Nazi.
Because they're all Nazis.
Unfortunately,
Holy cow, this movie was from 2008.
Yeah.
this is from 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2008, 2009.
This was after Snakes on a Plane. So in order to get his career back in,
Right.
Wow.
impressive.
Right. He had to take one for the team.
Which team? Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Wow, because I bet you old Hitler was rolling in his grave doing somersaults.
Wasn't it fantastic?
What do you mean? He's still alive in Argentina.
That's
Oh
right.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
With Elvis
Yeah,
and
with
Tupac.
JFK.
Yeah.
Yeah, JFK, Elvis, and
Yeah.
Tupac, and John Lennon.
And then they unfreeze Walt Disney's head and they all play poker on Tuesday nights.
You know what? That'd be a hell of a game. That really would be. It'd be a fly on the wall, as they would say.
But
no. All jokes to the side, though, I feel like they've done a terrible disservice to the people by not letting people know. I mean, by not allowing these people to be played by people who look like they're originals. I mean, it was so inclusive. I mean, especially if you're looking to give kids, especially positive role models. I mean, how much more positive can you get, in my opinion, than this? So,
well, I think the movies did a much better job of the transitioning sequence between Chris Evans and the Falcon as far as being Captain America. I think that the ending scene. Go ahead.
I disagree a little bit because
Okay.
see, when you read the comic,
Mm-hmm.
With his final act as the Falcon, he earned the right to be Captain America. I feel that you could argue that Steve Rogers was just doing a solid for an old friend in the movie.
Yeah, I just mean as far as not making the humongous deal out of it that they did in the marketing of the comic book, not necessarily the original series of the writing.
Sure.
Because like you said, Sam Wilson earned it. I think that they tried to shove it down everyone's throats and they didn't listen to the people. Because here's the thing, while it's a great thing that we have diversity in comics and we have inclusiveness in comics, we've always had it. I don't think that is something you need to push to give yourself head pats. I think that you do it and you deal with the backlash from people who are like, well, this is not my Captain America, because they were never going to buy it anyway. But you don't shove it down the throats of people who might be slightly interested in it but a little weary, calling them Nazis because they are just a little concerned that the character they've been reading for 20 years has suddenly changed.
So and with that, I agree in part. Okay, in
Right.
part. My issue as a father of I don't like using the term minority because I feel like as a minority you have to believe you're a minority. I don't believe I'm a minority of anything. But as a father of children of black children, right?
Right.
I want to put them around, the the best and the brightest people, and I want them to be around people who look like them. I don't want them to feel that, like a lot of kids feel that come out of certain, areas, that their only way to make it in life is to either be a musician or to be a sports hero. You know,
Right.
that sports or music are their only way forward. If you look like this, you can do anything you want to be. But if you look like this, I mean, the only chance you've got is either be really good at be good at that.
Gucci
But
gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang.
I feel like
I disavow.
even back in the late 70s, that they were already showing, all people, what, there's opportunities there, and also it being more inclusive that way. I mean, in a lot of ways, I'd say we've gone backwards since even the late 70s, and by them giving these parts to people, I mean, because most of these people, let's be honest, they didn't read the comics. They just waited for the movie to come out, right?
Right.
Most of them will know about it is what they've seen in the movies, and that's unfortunate when I look at it, that instead of keeping up with that diverseness, and I'm not saying that they have to do it because it's politically correct. I feel like it's politically incorrect to change it, only for the fact that you're taking away an opportunity for a kid to see a positive role model in a person that looks like they look.
Right. Well, one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that back in the 70s and the 60s and whatnot, when Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko pretty much had free run of Marvel, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were some of the most progressive comic book creators that we ever had. I mean, they were responsible.
Sure.
Stan Lee, especially, was responsible for. I know the Black Panther. I don't know if he had a hand in the Falcon or not, but I know that he created the Black Panther. Um, some of the characters that he created several prominent female characters that would go on to live for pretty much ever. He created the Fantastic Four, creating a position for a woman at the head of a super team. His Avengers, the Wasp, was the leader of the team, not Captain America or Iron Man. So some of these creators in the 70s, a lot of people, and just to kind of go off on a little bit of a tangent here, but did you see where they tried to Me Too Stan Lee recently, and it just kind of got slapped down like it did with Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
No, I did not see.
Yeah, several women came forward and said that Stan Lee had touched me after he died, trying to pilfer money out of his estate, and it never went anywhere. But you look at this and you look at Stan Lee, and everybody says that, oh, well, he was just one of the old white guys that gatekept comics from minorities. When if you look at his body of work for women and African Americans and Hispanic, people all around the country, he did work for those communities to try and bring them into comics. Whether you like it or not, it's kind of like saying that the the people from history, the founding fathers, and the people that fought in the Civil War, and all of these people are bad because they tolerated slavery and all of this stuff. I like to think that it was a different time, and we can't impose our mindset onto the past. What we've
Sure.
learned, we've only learned because of the mistakes and the failures of our forefathers.
Sure.
Right.
So when you look back on history and you say, well, sure that this guy, he created lots of characters that weren't, white dudes, but he didn't create as many as he did white dudes. You can't look at that and say that that's bigoted. He probably had a hard time getting them past editorial in that time.
Well, I mean, not only that. I mean, if you're not only that, if you're going to make these people proportionate to their actual representation in society, then you're going to have more characters of another race than you're going to have black ones. I mean, let's be real there.
Right.
I mean, especially in America. I mean, black people, are what 13% of society. Um, but I feel like they did a great job of representing and also giving them some pretty badass superpowers. I mean, look at Storm, for example.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
a literal royal queen in Africa.
Right?
I mean, they worship her as a god.
Right? Um, and I mean, and to have her played by Halle Berry of all people, that wasn't too bad either. So,
yes, preach, son, preach.
Except that accent, though. Come on.
Shh, we weren't listening to her.
You bitch if they hung you. You bitch if they hung you with a new rope, wouldn't you? I mean, come on, man. Of all that's what you come with? Is their accent?
I'm just saying.
Oh, you watch the show with the volume up. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You don't just leave it paused on the skin suit part?
Right? Okay. Well,
hey,
I'm
interested if that woman gets her plumbing fixed as well.
You see how diverse I am, Q? I even have a homosexual co-host.
Right? I'm just wondering. I'm like, wow. Hey, Tron.
Hey, that's only because it's the weekend, and you got to make that money.
I don't pay him, guys.
Oh man. Oh man. So I mean, do you think that they'll ever have? I mean, do you think they'll ever like bring back like Skyrocket at all, or that character in any way?
Skyrocket. That's one that I'm not familiar with. Why don't you teach me something while we're here?
Well, I mean, she pretty much was like the black of she's an ex Navy officer, so she was kind of like the black female version of Captain America.
Oh,
so,
okay.
She was really.
It had the armor suit, right?
Yep.
What was that,
Celia Forrestal.
That was DC. That was what, early 2000s?
That sounds about
2002.
Right. Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah.
Okay.
And her parents were scientists.
I'm honestly surprised Marvel didn't get caught up in that, because looking her up a little bit, it reminds me of what they've done, and we can kind of segue into this if you're familiar with it. But did you hear about the teenage African American female Iron Man?
I'm not familiar with that at all, but I'm extremely interested. What?
Yeah. Okay. So let me just give you the looking up the Wikipedia page for Skyrocket. She was in 2002, created by Kurt Busiek, fantastic writer, by the way. A little bit of an SJW, but that doesn't take away from his work. You just can't follow him on Twitter. But
right.
No, back in the probably 2016, I'd say. There was a character named Riri Williams, Riri Williams, and she was a savant at technology. She created her own custom Iron Man armor in her basement. So that was one of the first cop outs that I saw. Like, you're telling me that you recreated Stark Tech in your garage without
well,
stealing
to be fair,
anything.
Tony did the same in a cave in Afghanistan.
Yes, but he at least had technology and weapons given to him to work with. You're telling me this bitch had fucking nuclear weapons that she could pull the generators out of to make her power core? I don't think so.
Well, there was that kid who irradiated his entire neighborhood with smoke detectors.
Oh yeah,
real life.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm being a devil's advocate here.
I'll give it to you. But anyway,
Q's giving me nasty looks now.
Yeah, I mean,
didn't she steal some of the tech though?
I think that they did kind of go in and retcon it like that, but the original story, as far as I knew it, is they were trying to stay away from saying that she stole tech because it's kind of a bad look. Um,
I don't know why. I mean, why not?
let's just not push let's just not push the narrative that black people steal. That's definitely not a thing.
That doesn't happen. Otherwise, they get their arms chopped off. But go ahead.
Yeah, let me. I'm trying to find an image of her kind of in and out. There we go. That'll work. But yeah, she created her own Iron Man suit, and then Tony Stark happened to die. And again, instead of just going with the decision that they made to say, okay, well now a black girl is Iron Man, and we're just going to deal with that. We're going to deal with the backlash. We're gonna stick to our guns. No, you know what they did? They created two Iron Men. There was Riri Williams, and then there was Victor Von Doom, the infamous Iron Man, instead of being Doctor Doom anymore. So again, you have the potential to at least try to have a little bit of a legacy character that does a little different. And then she's up on the screen now, by the way. But you have the attempt to have a little bit of a diversity and take a chance. And again, if it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. But at least stick to your guns on it. If you're gonna make the choice, don't be so fickle that you feel like you have to have something else with the Iron Man branding on it, headed up by a white guy, to sell it. Now, to be fair, the writing in Infamous Iron Man was much better, so it was the one that I bought. But the thing is, if the option wasn't there, I probably would have been more inclined to try and read through this without being forced to for the show at one point. It was really bad.
I mean, they would have had to change the. I mean, that would have been the first SJW deal. Why does she have to be a man? So,
right. Well, they did.
Yeah, so
they
it
did
had to be
eventually call.
Iron Woman.
Well, they called her Iron Heart. Was her code name.
Iron. Ooh, I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
yeah. So, and they could have done well with it, but Brian Michael Bendis wrote it, and that doesn't do well for anybody anymore. So, I mean, think about it. He's writing
It was
Superman
a
right
losing
now.
proposition from the start.
Right. He's writing Superman right now, and Superman sales have been dipping for the first time in like 3 years. So.
Yeah, and that you got to be pretty special to mess up Superman.
I don't
yeah,
know. That was part of a conversation that we had a while back about legacy characters and how they should be handled, and I had some pretty spicy thoughts on that because I don't think legacy characters should be kept around. I think that after the creator dies, then that should be the end. You wrap up the character maybe with another issue or two, but I don't think that you should just be handing out the rights to Iron Man or Spider-Man or Captain America to every Tom, Dick, and Harry that signs up to work for you, because they're not going to treat them with the same level of respect as their creators would. I feel like you get better stories with original content, and then maybe if you have somebody who shines in a particular genre or a particular format, you give them the opportunity to write a legacy character as a one-shot or a mini-series or something.
I would almost go along with you, but I'm still holding out hope that somebody's going to pick up the Thundercats mantle. So I'm hoping that somebody comes along and is like, yes, today's children deserve Thundercats.
Yeah,
and,
but who's going to stop them from doing the whole She-Ra thing to them? I don't want Thundaro to be a lesbian cat. I don't need that in my
life. Ouch. Yeah, that could be a problem.
You know,
That could be a problem.
I don't need
Didn't think that
Thundara.
one
I
through,
didn't
huh?
think that one all the way through, but as a straight male, I was just thinking about all the good that could come out of it.
Yeah, see, no, you
Um,
take the black pill cue. You have to understand.
What do you mean, you pill?
Oh man. Well, it was nice having a
Yeah.
YouTube channel. I've really enjoyed these past couple of months, Ayrton. It's been a good ride, man.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward.
We're
to
never going to get
next,
monetized.
I look forward to the next alt-right graph that comes out with Nick Arcade on it.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to get on there
And then
too.
Q on there.
Yeah, I'm trying to get on there right
Yeah.
beside Mundane Matt.
Yeah, because so far we've talked about Nazis, we've talked about Black Panthers, we've talked about yeah. There's been enough talked about to get us in a lot of trouble. So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, we're gonna have to be real careful on this one.
We should
What about race and IQ?
Well, we should really just go ahead and make sure that everyone knows that we love Israel right now.
Yeah, they're the best.
They are.
Shalom to everybody.
Yeah,
right.
shalom out there.
My brothers.
Yeah.
Oh jeez. Oh jeez.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah.
I feel very uncomfortable right now.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, Obama's not in office anymore, so I'm not worried about any drone strikes tonight. But
Oh man.
But yeah.
No, Riri Williams was the second. Well, not the second. Like I said, it kind of worked like this. Right after 2008, 2009, you started noticing that a lot of legacy characters were changing. They did it very softly at first. Spider-Man, there are two mainstream Spider-Men right now. You've got Peter Parker and you've got Miles Morales. So
Right.
I don't know if you're starting to notice the trend, but it seems like for every character Marvel kind of tries to diversify, they only feel safe in doing it if they had a older white male counterpart to that character.
Right.
And that's kind of where my initial question came from is, do you feel like that's just kind of stepping on the idea and completely destroying the idea of saying, okay, well, this character can stand on their own 2 feet now? Jane Foster with Thor, same thing. Original Thor didn't go away. He just got an axe instead of a hammer. But you had a woman Thor and a man Thor with an axe. So, I mean, anytime that seemed like they've tried to diversify in a big way, it always kind of ends up being, we're going to try and have our cake and eat it too.
Man, so you're not going to like my answer on this because I feel like there's some characters that they transcend the character. So therefore they should be when the creator goes, they should go, the character should go.
Right.
There should not ever be another Spider. I mean, Superman. I mean that should have ended.
Oh, you mean you didn't like Obama Superman?
No, not at all. Batman, same thing. As far as like Captain America, though, for example, man, I feel like the character was transcendent, but the actual meaning of the character and what the character standed for was transcendent, and so therefore I felt that the character was perfect for a legacy character, regardless of the ethnicity of that character. I felt like the character was transcendent.
The character embodies an idea. I completely agree with you on that. Especially in the troubling times that we have in America right now, the division and everything. I feel like where they went wrong with Captain America is that they furthered that division in the media and in the, the just the way that they handled that transition. And then they brought Steve Rogers back to try and make everyone happy, and the people that they had tried to make happy by diversifying the character in the first place felt shat on, and with good reason, I think. Um, so also, I wasn't kidding about
I
Obama
feel that
Superman.
the comics did a much better job in the transition than the movie did, though.
Well,
Um,
like I said, I haven't seen Endgame. I've just heard the spoilers. So, as far as what they could accomplish in a movie, I think it was fine. But again, with the comics, yeah, they did a great
it,
job with it.
in the comics, I think they did a fine job with it. I just feel like Endgame at the end of the movie, with like 5 minutes left to go in the movie, was not the time to spring that on everybody.
Right,
I mean, there was a phenomenal story that took place. I they had an opportunity, and hopefully we'll see if they go into more. I mean, they didn't talk anything about Steve Rogers' son. They didn't. I mean, and all the drama that comes out as a result of that. I mean, there was so much there that could have been expounded upon. I feel like they would have been better off just to leave it and
right,
just tease it like Marvel typically does in most of their movies, tease it and move on, than to give us a really, really shortened Cliff Notes version of the transition and move on.
That would have been a really good opening to a film, or one of those 20-30 second spots at the end, just them standing there.
Yeah,
right.
I see that.
But
So,
the
but yeah, so I feel that if it's for the purpose of diversity, it won't work. I don't. If it's organic, then
right,
great. I just don't like feeling like something's being forced down my throat. You know what I'm saying? But if it's organic and they felt like, this person would be a great character to play this part, and we can fit them in to play this part, great. If they're going out saying, you know what, we should definitely get a black person to play this part, and I think that would be fantastic. Though, then at that point, it's kind of like, if
right.
at that,
And it comes across as pandering.
yeah,
Well, it
exactly.
doesn't come
Like
across as it is.
like the whole James Bond Idris Elba thing, you know. The guy's British.
Yeah,
The guy's got a killer accent. I mean, if he can play James Bond, he can play James Bond. Now, forget the fact that he's black. I think people are mature enough. We can look past that. You
right,
know what I'm saying? Like, we can look past the racial, makeup of the individual if they can actually play the part. If he's a
right,
badass, he's a badass.
Yeah.
But I mean, I also can't pass up the fact that it does help to have some of these positive characters in Barry. I think that it's a good thing. But it's the purpose for which you are putting these characters out there. Are you putting them out there because you want to try to buy the black the black viewership or the black reader? Well, I think that's kind of that's not a deep enough reason. But if you are just attempting to do this because you feel that it's the right thing to do, then by all means do it.
right. Well, I mean, if there's any kind of
Wait. So they're making 007. Oh, an alcoholic womanizer.
actually,
They're recasting that as a black man.
No, they're
actually,
not going to do it now.
actually,
Oh, they aren't. Okay.
I did kind of have a point on that since you brought it up. See, I actually would have been pissed if they made Idris Elba 007 because they wanted to remove the fact that he was an alcoholic womanizer. So now I'm just sitting here like, wait a minute. When he's a white dude, he manhandles women and drinks until he's blackout drunk some nights. But when he's a black guy, he's a saint. He doesn't get to do any of that fun stuff. What are you telling me? But
well, Yeah, I guess that would be a little bit of an issue. I mean, they probably would give him an old hoopty with big rims and tires
And the
instead
fuzzy
of giving him a
dice.
cool Aston Martin.
Actually, wait. Are you telling me that basically they were just going to refilm Undercover Brother with Idris Elba?
Oh boy.
Yeah. He's gonna trade in his martinis for shaken not stirred for Slits malt liquor. So yeah, he's gonna be drinking 40s instead. That's terrible, terrible.
Yeah, but he would have the hot sauce wine.
And his lifted El Camino with spinners.
What was that, John?
I said in his lifted El Camino with spinners.
exactly.
shot
With the
rockets.
chameleon paint job. Yeah. I'm totally down with that. Not even a little bit. Ugh, that sounds terrible. But I could see them doing it. And people lapping it up like, "Oh wow, look. Are you going to go watch the new 007?" Absolutely not. I'm not watching that crap.
And instead of an Armani, like a nice black Armani, he's got a
with some velvet shoes.
Yeah.
Gators, man, Gators.
Some Gators. Yeah, traded for some Stacey Adams. That's terrible. Yeah, but that's exactly. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, that's one thing. And like I said, you have it done in certain, like you were saying. You grew up, and just from this conversation, Superman and Captain America, and Batman, right? Those
Right.
You read those comics, you knew those stories, you knew those characters. Did it ever personally bother you growing up that those characters weren't African American? I mean, did it ever even cross your mind? Did you ever think about it?
No,
while you were reading those stories? Yeah, the same thing for me when
Absolutely not.
Right. When I was reading Power Man, or when I was reading Black Panther, or anything with the Falcon in it, it never bothered me that I was reading a story about an African American character. The same thing with, Master of Kung Fu, Asian guy. They used to draw his bad guys literally yellow. They were yellow people. I mean, you want to talk about racist comic books? There are characters in those old comic books that are orange because they're so Asian.
Man, I'm going to tell you right now, white American men will not allow racism to die. Racism is in a hole someplace, just waiting to just throw dirt on it. But they keep on resuscitating it.
And there's like 6 neo-Nazis standing around that hole guarding it.
Right?
the only real Nazis
true,
in America.
Actual ones.
So we were riding my kid is super, super smart and high intelligence. Of course, his father. So of course he's
right. You identify as Batman. So.
You understand it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely. So, and we're riding in the car last summer, and he's like, "Dad, I got a question." And I'm, yeah, "Okay, what's up, bud?" He says, "What are black people?" And I'm like,
"Fuck me."
Right? I'm like, "Where did you hear this?" I thought it'd be something easy, like having the sex talk. Like, what? Wow, you bring up race?
And then the cop
he's like,
the cop in your rear view threw his lights on, and you're like, "Wait, son, I'll show you."
Yeah, right. I can show you better than I can tell you. And then he says, "Have I ever seen one?" And I'm like, man, wow, And it was so funny to me that I got to thinking about that, and I was like, kids don't see this shit. They don't. kids don't see race. I mean, and especially as we read this stuff as kids. The first thing out of your eyes was not, oh, well, wow, this person's black. It was, okay, this person's got really cool superpowers and they're going to save the world again.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with the color or the amount of melanin that they happen to have within their skin. It just had to do with the fact this person was cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, growing up reading Wolverine, it never bothered me that he was Canadian. So,
I mean, yeah, it should
crap.
have.
Oh man, you've ruined it for me. I'll never watch it again or read it again.
Look, he was a tough leap, okay?
They could have made him Irish, Asian, anything. It could have made him Mexican, but Canadian I can't do.
Well, never once did he apologize. He did grow up in Japan, yeah. Actually,
I don't believe he was really Canadian.
He grew up in colonial America, believe it or not. But he fought in the Civil War, the Revolutionary War, all the wars. He fought all the wars. But he lived in Japan, I think, the most amount of time. So
did he fight on the side of the imperialists or on the side of the Americans?
Oh, he was an American.
During World War II.
He fought for the Americans with Captain America. Yeah.
All right.
You get a pass for that.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
He gets a pass for that. I mean, there's a lot of cool reasons to live in Japan. I'm down with that.
What, like the vending machines that dispense women's underwear?
No.
You know what? Okay, so there's more reasons. No, but I was thinking Wagyu beef. I mean, any steak that gets fed beer its entire life sounds pretty good to me.
Oh, that's what's special about it?
Yeah, you can get that here. Just so you know, you don't ever have to leave Freedom Land.
You don't have to get a cow.
Soder's going out and buying a bull calf before the night is over. So,
and a 6-pack apparently.
And a 6-pack. Knowing Soder, it'll probably be Bush Light though.
No, man, you got to get it.
You said many mean things to me, and I didn't care. But that, I think we're gonna have to stop being friends.
No, Q. It's gonna be a 6-pack of the Schlitz malt liquor.
Church, that really hurts.
I was gonna say Natty Light, but
oh man, oh man, that's that. Ooh,
now we know who had
going for the jugular.
Yeah, now we know who had the.
I'm just gonna leave. I know I'm not wanted here.
No, so Soder sounds like the kind of person that would buy a nice IPA that was locally brewed and canned.
Oh yeah, Soder's all about his micro brews.
IPAs, the pumpkin spice latte for white dudes.
Yeah. I could see Soder going with like a Stella Artois, something domestic.
Letting the cow drink. Letting the cow drink it right out of the chalice.
There you go. But he's just Nazi enough that it'd have to be warm beer.
Right.
I thought it was the British that did the warm beer.
No, Nazis, it's definitely all beer.
Not Nazis, British. It's the same thing. They're all white.
It's the same. Okay. Well, nowadays, pretty much.
But no, like you were saying,
we got a long way off of talking about Captain America.
Well, it happens on this show a lot. We just kind of go where the drugs take us. But you were talking about that with your son in the car, and it's the same thing with me. I have 3 children, and my 7-year-old, he doesn't know what a black person is. Like, he knows a person is brown. But he doesn't know what a quote unquote black person is, because that's not a term I use around him. One of my friends that comes over, to the house a lot is, Daddy's brown friend, but Daddy's brown friend is Daddy's brother. So what are you going to do?
Right.
I mean, I've known this kid longer than I've known my wife. And
Yeah.
we grew up together, and the way we talk to one another, you'd think we grew up in the same household. So
That's funny.
it's one of those things that the generations, and I feel like that the media that constantly talks about, well, we've got to end discrimination. They put more of a highlight on the things that they say they're against than they do to try and stop it.
Right.
I feel like a
Right.
lot of these kids would never even understand, what racial division was if it wasn't for the damn newspaper or the sitcom making it apparent to them. There's this show out, I don't know if you're familiar with it, called Blackish, and they even get so far down into black on black racism. You know how light
Yeah.
skinned black people have it so much easier than black, and I'm just like, why are you focusing on this for kids? Why is
Right.
this why is this something that's called a family show? This isn't something that as a parent I would want my kids to see if I was an African American. I wouldn't want my kid to
No.
think that they were better or worse than anybody else because of the tone of their skin.
Right. We watched that show for a half a season, and it started going down that road. Um, and yeah, it just yeah, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And as far as I'm concerned, kids aren't born inherently with those types of thoughts. They're a blank slate. Unfortunately, boneheaded parents, teach them, to be that way, or teach them those things. And I feel like, man, in a lot of ways, I mean, judging by, what we've talked about here tonight, in a lot of ways, I feel like we've gone backwards,
Right, right.
um, because, unfortunately, that stuff sells, people,
Well,
people
it
like it.
it brings me back to something that both you and the Cup Commander himself, Drexel, has talked about on Nick Recado's show. Speaking of which, coming up in 20 minutes, ladies and gentlemen in the chat, 20 minutes, Nick Recato and Ty Beard on Recato Law. So you definitely don't have to let the fun stop here. But no, something both of you have touched on is the welfare introduction in the 80s, and how the government came in and split up the African American household. The crack epidemic under Reagan. All of these things, they there are things that have been implemented by our government, by the media, by our society to keep us divided and keep us fighting one another so that we didn't notice the man behind the curtain doing whatever they were going to do. And that's the takeaway from it all that I've always seen is if there's somebody telling me that I shouldn't like something or I shouldn't think a certain way, why are they telling me that? Why is it so important to them that I don't think that way or that I don't look behind that curtain? And
Sure.
it always comes back down to it's more important to keep us as Americans fighting over stupid shit that doesn't matter anymore, like race, gender, all of that stuff, sexuality, any of that stuff. There's more to be gained by the people at the top to keep us fighting amongst ourselves and not paying attention to the bullshit that's going on behind the curtain. And it's got to stop. And the only way it's going to stop is if people like me, you, Soder, Ayrton, and the people in the audience, the people who tune into these shows, if they take away from the fact that none of this shit matters. It's all about your money at the end of the day. It's all about who
Sure.
you are at the end of the day. And you have control over that. You have control over what you ingest, what you take away from any given encounter. But if you walk away from a bad encounter with someone of a different ethnicity than you, and you take it out on the rest of their ethnic culture, then that's on you. That's not on them.
Right.
Uh, uh,
100%.
and the thing about it is the fact that you and I can come on here and we can crack the jokes that we've cracked and we can agree and disagree in the ways that we have. It just goes to show that it's not difficult. It's not difficult to open a dialogue with anybody. All you have to do is just say, "Hey, let's talk about that." And if you disagree, you disagree. You walk away with a different perspective. You can respect it without agreeing with it.
The my theory on that, Church, is that most of us have more that we agree with than that we don't agree with.
Right.
I mean, yeah, we're all going to have things that we disagree with for whatever reasons, you know. But we're going to agree with more than what we disagree with. As far as I'm concerned, you know, whenever you have, you know, we focus on the fringes of society. We focus on the 1% of people who are 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 you know, evil, or the 1% of bad police officers, or the 1%. I mean, I don't even think it's as high as 1%, but I mean, but even if it was as high as 1%, we focus on the fringes of society, and we try to paint a picture of all of society based on this small, you know, subgroup of humanity. And that's a shame, because we spend more time focusing and those people and thinking about those people, as opposed to just focusing on the 99% of people that are good people who just want to you know, raise their families, to get through this thing as happily as possible, and just live their life, you know. That's unfortunate. At the end of the day, we all have a common enemy, um, and that common enemy is people who are tyrannical, that want to run our lives day to day, and we all have to unite against that, and stay free. So,
Right. Well, I 100% agree on that note. I think that the biggest problem is that when you have so many people focusing on that 1%, I think I saw somebody say it best the other day. You know why the term the alt right has been coined, and that's because you can call someone alt right without outright calling them a Nazi, but it means the same thing. So
right.
you have people focusing on that 1%. No, I'm not, under no circumstances would I ever be caught dead in a room with Richard Spencer agreeing with pretty much anything he's ever said. I don't agree with the idea of an ethno state or anything along those lines, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have the freedom to speak his speech and, have his ideals the way he
Well,
wants to.
you would agree.
What?
You would agree that in his analysis that he thinks Sargon thinks he's smarter than he actually is.
I do agree with he does think that Sargon is smarter than he is, but as far as the ethno state goes, and I don't think I need to be in the room with them to agree that Sargon's an idiot for those views that they don't even hold. And I think that's one of the more dangerous things of the game that they're playing right now, as far as the media goes and things of that nature. I think that's the most dangerous game they could possibly play, because it's not people with right wing views that radicalize people. It's people with left wing views that call everyone a Nazi and realize, oh, well, if I'm going to get persecuted as a Nazi, I might as well act like one. I think
Yeah,
that,
I agree with. Yeah,
I think
maybe the chat or you guys know who that is.
Jordan Peterson.
No,
The American Renaissance or something like that. I forget.
Nick
exactly.
Fuentes. Is that the guy?
No, not him. This is an older.
no, the bald guy, right?
I don't think
Jared
he's bald.
Taylor.
Yeah, Jared Taylor. That's the guy
Yeah.
I'm thinking of. I found them around the time when they started to get him and Richard Spencer. I didn't know about them until the whole punch a Nazi thing and the Trump inauguration address, and Jared Taylor getting basically banned from YouTube. And so I saw some of their videos, and I'm like, why do these guys seem so reasonable? I don't agree with them. I want to make that clear. but they're not and people are freaking out. It's like they're
right.
It's like, if we just ignore them, they'll go away. But you guys acting like this is the worst thing since stepping on Legos,
which is pretty awful.
It draws attention to them, and the way you act towards them and the way they act in response to what you're doing just makes them look more reasonable than they are. Why are we giving them this attention?
Right, the
In this
ammunition
way.
of the platform. You know, you're basically giving them credence to a whole group of people who feel like, oh well, you know, I've tried to be rational, I've tried to be reasonable, and like we've all seen the videos, but again, that's the media being divisive. There's always videos of the outlandish white people or the outlandish black people either being racist or being racist, and none of it's acceptable. But you know, we never see, you know, the white guy that stops and does something out of the kindness of his heart for someone who doesn't look like him. We never see the video of the black family that, you know, helped out the homeless white veteran or whatever. There's never any feel good in the media because feel good doesn't sell. And it's the same thing in comics, you know, to wrap it all back around. It's the same way in Marvel Comics right now. A recent issue of Miss Marvel, uh, you know, Kamala Harris, the Muslim captain or the Muslim Miss Marvel, was talking about bacon. And you know what she called bacon? You know, something as simple as bacon? Infidel meat. They printed that in an American Marvel comic.
Oh, jeez.
Bacon is infidel meat. So, you know, just for being an American that's not a Muslim, I'm an infidel? Like from a superhero
yes.
that lives in America? That's the line they're going with? So, you know, I think that it's time for people to kind of wake up and see the lines of division that have been drawn by the people at power. And, you know, that's why, you know, I wanted to have this kind of conversation with someone who would actually look at it from a scholarly point of view with their massive Batman identifying intellect.
Wait, are you talking about me?
Yeah, he is.
Well, this is YouTube. I can't talk about the massive other thing that you talked about off the air.
Well, yeah, you know.
It's feet.
Yeah, my feet. Yeah, I like Trump. I have a huge brain.
Huge. You got the best brain.
Huge.
This is the one of a kind brain from my friend over here, Q. It's fantastic. It's the best brain you'll ever get. You'll never see another one like it. It's amazing. It's huge.
There it is. You won't find.
But no,
No.
I think that wraps it up. We got a little bit deep there at the end, no pun intended. But I think we had a pretty great discussion. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I look forward to receiving my letter from YouTube tomorrow. But but I just
send me a copy. I feel like I helped earn that.
Yeah, we'll get it framed. I'll get you a copy right over.
What was that?
And we're going to be on D Live next week now. After this.
That's right. Yeah, we're going to bring Stream Me back from the dead, y'all. But
yeah,
no, I definitely appreciate you guys coming on and sharing your time with us. I'm a big fan of your show. I try and catch every replay that I can because you stream at 9 consecutive hours.
true.
But no, definitely.
We try.
Anybody checking this out now or afterwards, check out the link to Q's and Soder's channel down below. Out of the Darkness.
No, I want to be clear. It's Soder, or it's not Soder's show. It's Q's show.
No, well,
Q's show. I just engineer and try to not boomer things up. Bad.
No, it's definitely it's part yours too. You know, the engineer is definitely part of the show, especially in the background.
I mean, it's more than what I do. I just read some comics and then show up. And
I have to host and engineer and pull up all the material and make sure Eric reads it and all that good stuff. In fact, I don't even know why I keep.
I think it's time to get rid of the dead weights.
Well, if I had somebody else to talk to, hey, Soder, you looking for a second job?
I don't read enough comics.
We can
Hey,
fix
Tron, I
that.
think you'll fit right in over here, seeing as how you're a minority Irish.
Looks like you're.
Right in.
Look, why is everybody trying to get rid of Ayrton so that they can steal him for themselves? Am I really that horrible? Nobody wants to keep me because I'm black, isn't it?
Hey, just remember our first stream. I'm the one with the hot voice. So
Shut your mouth. But
I
anyway,
might go back and dig that out.
that's right. That's right.
Did you go through a voice change?
No, that's the one thing he hasn't had surgery on yet. Anyway, but again, thank you guys for coming on. Everybody check out of the Darkness channel, link in the description. Their Twitter accounts are in the description if you want to harass them that way. And again, thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thanks for letting us come on and boomer up the show.
Hey man, it's what we're here for. But I'm gonna go ahead and mute the hangout for just a second, and go ahead and get us played out of here with that same intro music, and then we will be off the air unless anybody has anything they need to bring up last minute here. No?
Great visiting with y'all. Thank you.
All right, man. Thank you again. Here we go.
had a blast, guys. Thanks for coming out.